7:09, we'll call the regular monthly meeting of the Board of Trustees to order. The first item on our agenda is the invocation and pledge of allegiance. I'll turn that over to Mr. Keith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Tonight we've got two students from Airport High School. I'd like to welcome both of them. The first one, Tatiana Alvarado. Tatiana is a senior at Airport where she has a 5.13 GPA and is currently ranked 3rd in her class. She is a member of the Beta Club, the B27 Club, the National Honor Society, and is a member of the National Honor Society of High School Scholars. Although her focus has been on academics, she has occasionally helped with student government. Tatiana volunteers at Mission Lexington, a local interfaith social services ministry, serving families and individuals struggling to meet their basic needs. Tatiana is undecided on her major, but will attend the College of Charleston in the fall. And tonight doing the Pledge of Allegiance is Ayla Edmiston. Ayla is a senior at Airport High School, where she is currently ranked 1st in her class with a GPA of 5.229. I didn't even get that. I never saw that level there. She is a violinist in the school's orchestra, a member of the B27 Club, the Beta Club, the National Honor Society, and the Tri-M Honor Society. During her years at Airport, she has been a member of the soccer, cross-country, track, and swim teams. She earned varsity letters in cross-country, track, swim, orchestra, and academics. Ayla will attend Lander University in the fall as a member at Honors College and will major in biology.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for allowing us to be in your presence. We thank you for providing our teachers an abundance of your wisdom. We thank you for providing the school board the courage to make sound decisions. Lastly, Lord, we thank you for shaping the lives of students through your love and grace. Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on our agenda is consent agenda. Without objection, the consent agenda will stand approved as presented. Then comes public participation period. We have no one signed up for public participation. So now we move to report on honors and accomplishments of students and staff.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair and Board. Last week I had the pleasure of shaking about 25 hands of young people from Lexington 2 who either received college credit or a college degree before we granted them high school credit or a high school diploma. Our early college program has been outstandingly successful, and these folks have represented the district well. I've asked Dr. Brooks to call each of their names, and he'll do that in the order of the degree they received or the credits that they earned.
Thank you, sir. If I can get Judy Bledsoe to come up, she's going to give out the certificates. Ms. Bledsoe is our coordinator of the early college program, so she really does a lot for our students and families. I'm going to start first with juniors for tonight. And so students, when I call your name, if you will come up. These juniors are the ones who have received the General College Studies Certificate, and what that means is they have earned at least 18 college credits and successfully completed 6 or more specific courses that are identified as transferable to all South Carolina four-year colleges. These include English 101, 102, Psychology 201, Sociology, a Fine Arts, and 1 of 5 specific humanities electives. So at this time, if I can get these juniors to come up, we're going to recognize them. Ms. Courtney Bingham. Armani Jarvis. And Emily Ortega Lopez. Jordan Skinner. And Haley Watts. All right, your certificates are coming. Okay? All right, so these are our juniors, so let's give them a real big. Next, we're going to have our 2 seniors that are early college scholars. These are seniors who completed at least 6 college courses. At this time, I can get Zach Lowe to come up. He completed 15 courses, 46 credits. Bryson Platt, I think I saw Bryson. Bryson completed 8 courses, and that's 25 college credits. So congratulations, Bryson. All right, and then our seniors who earned their general college study certificates, if you'll come up. Our first one is Gavin Carrion. Eight courses and 24 college credits. Genesis Griffin. Tatiana Natal Alvarado. She has 9 courses and 27 credits and has high honors. And so Lainey Powers is our next one. Lainey has gotten credit for 10 college courses, 30 credits, and she's made a 4.0 in every one of those classes. Let's give a round of applause. These are our seniors. Y'all may have a seat. And now we're going to start with our students that earned an associate's degree. To get their associate's degree before high school ends, or their high school diploma, it takes 62 plus college credits. So, our first student is Kayla Baltnight. Kayla has 68 credits and graduated with her associates with honors. Zach Brewster. 68 credits. Sienna Cook Crompton. 21 courses, 64 credits. Kayleen Hall is our next. 62 credits and graduated with high honors. Autumn Jackson. 65 credits. Talia Keller. Another 65 credits, 21 courses. Leslie Nieto Hernandez. Is that close? If we stopped at Leslie, we would have been 61 credits, congratulations. Destiny Payne. 68 credits. Sabraya Pugh. 65 credits and graduated with honors. Sade Singleton. 65 credits. And then I have two more seniors that I want to recognize. These students not only earned one associate's, but they earned both, an arts and a science. And so Angel Anderson, if you'll come up. Maddie Frierson. Both of those two young ladies earned 78 credits. And so I just want to take the opportunity to say, I recognize how difficult it is to take college courses while you're taking high school and to juggle. I happen to know many of you and that you're doing more than just going to high school. You're involved in student government, sports, all those kind of things. So your dedication to your academics truly is something to be proud of, and I hope you will carry that with you for a long time. To the parents that pushed them, thank you very much, and to the board who has allowed that to happen for years, I sincerely want to thank them as well. So congratulations. Thank y'all very much. I happen to know they're going to dinner as a treat. And there were a few students that could not be here tonight, so we want to also thank them as I should say also, you found some letters at your desk. Some of the students have written thank you notes, and they're thanking Ms. Bledsoe's gathered a few more for you.
All right, I'm going to move on to the agenda. We don't have any unfinished business, so we're going to move to new business. First item is consideration of release time for religious instruction for the following: Casey Elementary, Congaree, Riverbanks, New River Academy of Arts, Springdale, Wood, Busby, Fulmer, Northside, Pine Ridge, BC High, and New Ridge Academy.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chair, we have Deanna Bundy with us. She's the Director of School Time Bible Ministry. Each year they've come to the board, and each year the board has approved. But we ask Ms. Bundy to explain to the board again.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Superintendent, school board members, and distinguished guests, I'm Deanna Bundy. I'm the new program director for School Time Bible. School Time Bible Ministries facilitates local churches with public schools to provide off-campus Bible education classes that are held during the school day. Currently, we have classes in grades 5 through 9, and I'm very pleased to tell you that this will be the 21st consecutive year that we've had classes at Lexington 2, and we're very grateful for that. We've submitted requests for 12 schools for next year, and we do appreciate your consideration in approving the request for the 2019-2020 school year.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the 12 schools as listed for this time for religious instruction as recommended by the administration.
We have a motion, and a second. We have a second by Mr. Keith. Any discussion, questions for Ms.
There's 12 schools now. How many? We're not in all schools. Is there?
No, sir.
Maybe that's something
That is our goal. We are currently working on that. There were some scheduling conflicts that we've got to find a church that can work with airport schedules a little bit different. And this past year, we did not have classes at Saluda River or Springdale, and we're also working to remedy that as well. That's our goal.
Any other questions? Being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Next up on our agenda is first reading of the 2019-20 proposed general fund budget.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, you've received the budget packet in your books. I'm happy to go through any of it if you would like me to go page by page, or I can address individual questions.
At this point, I guess I would ask for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, motion to approve the first reading for the proposed 2019-2020 general fund budget.
All right, we have a motion by Ms. Kester. Do I have a second? A second by Mr. Keeble. All right, now, discussion.
You can see from the budget of the revenue page, it is a little over a $3 million increase, 3.90% from 1819 into 1920.
Anyone have any questions? Any clarification? That's good. Okay. All right, being done, this is for first reading on the general fund budget. Subsequent to this, then we will post the ad in the newspaper and schedule the public hearing. We have a motion, a second for first reading. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, moving on along to next item is consideration to authorize administration to apply for Titles 1, 3, and neglected and delinquent funds.
Good evening. Tonight I would like to request authorization from the board to apply for Titles 1, Part A, D, and Title 3 funding. I don't think I've ever presented to the board when I've actually done what our preliminary allocation is. But it came this afternoon at 3 o'clock, so we've got it. It's $2,724,401.41, and this represents an 11% increase over our fiscal year 2019 budget. You also have in your information our estimated carryover. That's the maximum amount that we can carry over from FY 2019 to FY 2020. We'll know what that exact amount is once we close out fiscal year 2019. I'll remind you, as always, we do have some mandatory set-asides that we have to take right off the top of Title I. We have a 1% set-aside for parent involvement. Lexington 2 does a very good job with that. We actually set aside more than that 1% because we support our STAR programs, our parent educators, and then travel to homes to work with students and those types of things. Also, of that 1%, 90% must flow through to the school. So we use 90% of that 1% to support any kind of parent involvement activities at the school on top of anything they might have in their plan related to parent involvement. We also have to have a set aside for homeless. There's not a certain percentage that is required. Typically what I do is look to see how much money we've spent the previous fiscal year and just add that money to the current year's budget. We also support the administration at the district office as far as Title I goes, with salaries and benefits, supplies and materials, postage, things related to the administration of the grant. Last year, for the first time, I mentioned to you that every Student Succeeds Act requires that we have an agreement with our Department of Social Services and the school district to develop procedures so that we can help with transportation of students in foster care should it be determined that their foster care placement gets changed and it's in their best interest to stay in their original school, that we will transport them to their original school. And they are allowing us to use Title I money for that. We have a memorandum of agreement with the Department of Social Services, and we split that cost 50-50. But over the last 2 years, it has been an extremely small amount of money. We also, in Title I budget, support Countdown to Kindergarten, which is a preschool summer school program that transitions students from 4-year-old programs into 5K. And then the bulk of the money for Title I, of course, goes to the schools. And they will be receiving their preliminary allocations next week based on their percent of poverty. And that is determined from our final 135-day report and our free and reduced lunch count in March. We also today received a preliminary allocation for Title I Part D neglected and delinquent, and that's the money that we use to support Three Rivers. It is $60,138.81, and that's an 8% decrease over FY 2019. As far as Title III Part A, which is language instruction for limited English proficient and immigrants, you have there the information about the FY 2019 allocation, which at that time was a 4% decrease, but we did not receive any information today about a preliminary allocation for that program. I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have this time.
Okay, motion before we get there.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that the board approves the request to apply for an annual allocation of federal funds in these programs as presented.
We have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll say.
Second by Mr. Key. Okay, questions? I've got one. On the mandatory set aside for the homeless, is that for transportation for them?
No, that it does not. We ripped the program of last resort to pay for something like that. It's not. It's for things like if they would go to New Bridge and need uniform, as if they go on a field trip and they'll have the money for a field trip, birth certificate, things like that we pay for. No transportation.
Do you know how many people we have in that group?
Diane Reed does, and I can find out, and I'll be glad to tell you.
Any other questions? Okay, being none, we have a motion to approve the authorized administration to apply for the funds. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next up is consideration of request for out-of-state travel for 2 teachers from Casey Elementary to attend the Reading Institute.
Can we go back to Mr. Chairman? If no objection from the board, I'd like to combine item D and E and make one motion that we approve the administration's recommendation for the 2 teachers from Casey Elementary and the 2 reading coaches from Riverbank Elementary and reading coach from Saluda River Academy for the Arts for out-of-state travel.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll say.
I have a second by Mr. Key. Any discussion? Being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next up on our agenda is consideration of first reading of revisions to policy JKAA high school discipline, JKAB elementary and middle school discipline.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the board, tonight we bring you some considerations for changes to our current discipline policies. The high school is JKAA and the elementary middle is JKAB. The first one is we would like to go and add back a category 1. Last year, and some of you were on the board, but last year we had to take category 1 off because the state passed a law saying you couldn't charge students with disturbing schools anymore. And we use disturbing schools as our big one that upset the student body if a threat was made with weapons and things like that. Not having the weapons, but a threat made with weapons. Because of taking that out and only upping some of the other ones as far as what we can do discipline-wise, we've seen a significant jump in threats made from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. Kids say they're going to take a gun and shoot up the school. So we'd like to go back in and put that category, it would be category code 23 in both policies, saying that threat of violence or harm that includes the use of a firearm or bomb or explosive device. We think it'll slow it down. Now, the second one is a unique one, okay? And it comes out of the one below it, the e-cigarette. And we've not seen an increase in e-cigarette, but what we've seen an increase in is what's called a joule. J-U-U-L. Dr. James was wrong. I did not buy this one with a procurement card. I paid for it myself, okay? I have a jewel. It charges itself with a USB port, and it looks like a thumb drive. These are pods. Tonight, we could also really enjoy. The green one, and I'll pass these for you to see, is mint. It's a crisp peppermint flavor with a soothing aftertaste. Okay? The brown one, or the burgundy one, is Virginia tobacco, a tasty, rich, unmistakable American tobacco. The box comes with a huge warning on it saying that they contain nicotine, which is addictive. Okay? You can look on this box and it says for adult smoking users alternative, but there's no age. We're seeing these down in the middle schools a lot. And we need to stop this because these pods, online you can go and you can buy cannabis pods. THC oil, which is a synthetic form of marijuana. We had 2 kids this year use it. And we know why, because they both went to the nurse because they were having respiratory distress. A while back, we used to have a synthetic marijuana. What was it called again? Spice. Remember 4 or 5 years ago? They were selling it at the gas station right up from Airport High School, and there was no agent. And the kids were using it, and it was putting them in the hospital. Thank the Lord it has gone away, but these are now taking its place. I think we felt like we needed to send a clear message that we're not going to allow these because you may get that rich tobacco taste while you're smoking it or using it, but there's no aroma coming from it at all. You can't tell. You can't tell. And kids can walk around it right in front of you and you think it's a thumb drive, a USB thumb drive. And there's no age limit. And we're seeing kids as young as 12 years old with it. And we just feel like we need to stop this right away. And I'm going to pass that over to Ms. Lee. Y'all can take a look at it. It's one of those things that's gotten ahead of law enforcement and the laws. And I think the committee that we're with, we just think we need to send a clear message to the kids that it doesn't matter what it is, because nicotine is addictive. It can cause health hazards as well as anything with drugs. They have all kinds of flavors too. They said they have a nice cream, notes of vanilla, silky custard, and cream brulee. I was hoping they'd have one for pizza, and I Then category 3 for both, one's high school and one's elementary. We would take electronic cigarette devices because category 2 is the one we want to add. We take care of that. And we would add school premises, and Mr. Sargent asked us to please put police or school bus. Because we've had uses of kids smoking cigars on our bus in the past month. We also bolstered the discipline with it. Kid gets caught with cigarette or tobacco products at school, they can be issued a ticket because they're underage and have to pay a fine as well as being punished by the school. Several of us in this room went to a law enforcement workshop that they had here in West Columbia. And the last presenter was talking about Georgia tobacco, and he said there is a significant increase of young people using tobacco again. Cigarettes, cigars, those things, the use of it on the uprise, which as we know will turn into health hazards later. So these are the 3 recommendations we have for you tonight, and I'll answer any questions you may have at this time.
I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the administration's recommendation for the first reading and revision to the board policy JKAA and JKAB related to student discipline.
Have a motion and a second.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Key. All right, questions?
How do you police that? I mean, I'm just, is common as they look, how does someone?
I asked a question 2 days ago to an officer, and he said, we don't know yet because they don't give off any aroma. I can tell you how we were catching kids. They were writing about it in their district email. Remember, we were for a while reading their emails, and I knew exactly what happened. There was a lot of it, so. I think what this comes out to, I think the kids will turn each other in, they typically do. And I'm hoping it'll stop them. I was shocked when I got this one tonight, that the price is $50. Wow. Don't tell Gil. But this thing has caught us by surprise. We've all seen the e-cigarettes and the purple smoke comes out and everything like that. But this thing camouflages itself. And maybe the technology and the laws will catch up with them, but I tell you, they talk about it in their emails a lot, more middle schoolers than the high schoolers. And it was scary when those two kids went to the nurse and told on themselves. And the other thing, when they got to the hospital, both parents had them tested and they tested positive on marijuana.
Yeah, it just so happens, I got a thing yesterday, that apparently this company is opening in West Columbia.
Yes, sir. Yep.
500 new jobs
Yes,
near the year.
Probably a school business partner. I've been shaking my head for 2 weeks knowing that this was coming, and I heard about it right after I submitted it, and I said, this is the Jim Hinton luck as fast as it comes through. But I think our protection of our kids wants this, and I think the schools would support, they've supported that so far, because you never know what they're using in it. Go on the internet and Google Juul, pot. You can buy just bulk of the cannabis stuff.
Well, they sell that at CVS now.
They sell the hemp oil. It doesn't have THC in it. It's supposed to be good for your joints and everything.
All right, any other questions? We have a motion and a second for first reading on the discipline policy changes. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you so much.
Next is consideration of first and second reading revisions to policies GCG, part-time and substitute professional help, GBED, administrative rule, GBEDR, tobacco-free schools, policy JICG, tobacco use by students, policy GCF, administrative rule, GCF, professional staff hiring, and policy GCK and GCKR, professional staff assignments and transfers.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, Ms. Kiava is going to present these policies.
I don't think I'll be nearly as entertaining as Mr. Hinton. So, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and Dr. James, as part of our continuing review of board policy, I'm bringing before you for consideration some policy revisions. The first up is GCG and the accompanying administrative rule. Basically, the changes in these two were related to the use of Kelly Services as the provider. I would suggest, as I believe everyone else recommends, that we would go with a more generic approach so that we, as often as we change providers in policy, unless the process changes, we'll see. Anyone have any questions about that?
Do we want to take these as a group, or do we want to approve them one at a time?
If you would approve them as a group, that would.
Okay.
Next up, as you heard Mr. Hinton talking about, I have two policies related to tobacco. The proposals that you have in front of you come from a model policy from the South Carolina Tobacco Free Collaborative, and these policies are endorsed by the South Carolina School Boards Association, Department of Education, and DHEC. Several of our neighboring districts have already adopted the tobacco-free policies, and so I bring this before you for consideration. The first one up is GBED and the accompanying administrative rule. The primary changes that I'm proposing for your consideration are a change to the policy name for the emphasis on tobacco-free schools. It includes a more extensive list of the prohibited tobacco and nicotine-related products to include the personal vaporizers, electronic delivery systems, and any number of things that you see before you. There's also in there some measures to address policy violations. The administrative rule includes an updated list of cessation programs and referral services that I got from DHEC as part of the proposed revisions. If anybody has any questions. Okay. The next policy is also related to tobacco use, JICG, and it addresses specifically use by students. Many of the proposed changes are the same as you saw in GBED and the administrative rule. This one more specifically addresses some legal issues related to those in possession of tobacco under age 18. Also talks again about policy violations and possible consequences of that. Anybody have any questions? I should have noted for you that in the GBED, I took out one wording on an administrative rule that was an administrative rule we didn't have. So I have those here, but it didn't change anything by and large with the provisions. So we were good on that one so far. Yes, thank you. The next up is GCF, professional staff hiring, and the associated administrative rule, ARGCFR. In addition to a title change, you'll notice in these next two policy proposals that we're looking at that I'm including support staff verbiage both in the body of the policy and in the title. Several of our neighboring districts have separate policies for professional hiring and support staff, but in working with Dr. Cooper and others, we decided that we thought we could contain it all in one policy. So that's what the proposed title change is and some of the specific language in there to include support staff. The administrative rule also includes a title change, and we suggest removing some of the dated language on retiree hires with the Terry program no longer active. And I think that part of our recommendation, this is just strengthening the process in hiring and how it happens as you apply to the district and then the steps that occur. Questions?
I do like cleaning this up, but it's always been a policy to apply for a job and to go through the process. We still have people that don't do that. So I don't see consequences in here for administrators who ignore this policy. Every position should be put up and open and advertised. Every employee should have an equal opportunity to apply for that position. So I understand the policy. I like the cleaning up that you've done. You actually just cleaned up the verbiage, made it more articulate and on a higher educational level. level, but I still don't see consequences for people that violate the policies that we have in place.
I wonder if,
And Ms. Kessler, one reason that you don't see consequences in this particular policy is because that would be a disciplinary policy that, you know.
Somewhere along the line, though, Dr. Cooper, that needs to be spelled out so that everyone has access, so that when you file a grievance, you know that it's been violated. We've got principals that tell their employees that that's my prerogative, I can do what I want to do, it's my school. And they're left with nothing to grieve, they can come to you, but.
So you're talking about a grievance procedure.
Well, it's the consequences for when.
We do have a
policy
grievance
is
procedure,
violated.
which is separate from this.
Yes,
If I'm understanding, we do have that, Ms. Kessler, and there are steps. And if there's anything that maybe you should share with me maybe later,
Okay.
I'd be glad to talk with you about it. Knowingly, if we knew someone violated the policy, there would be disciplinary action as a consequence. But if I'm following you correctly, I'd be glad to talk to you. Are there any other questions about this policy?
We're talking about employee.
Correct.
People interviewing, and I just want to make sure.
Yes, sir.
Because what I was reading.
This is
and I
about
was reading
onboarding. This is about onboarding process. That's the new term, you know, for
Okay.
just the onboarding process for hiring. That's the focus here.
I do agree that there were steps early in the process, I think, with the superintendent and with human resources and things where those checks should happen. Have we done, has this person filled out an application? Have they done this and this and this and that? That there are points, I think, along the way that needs to be checked. I think you make a good point.
Thank you.
So we
And
can
we do
follow
that,
up.
yes, ma'am. We appoint them.
Okay. Any other questions on that one? Finally, we have GCK and its associated administrative rule, ARGCKR. For your consideration, we're again recommending the title change to include the support staff and professional staff. This policy, some of the proposals also outline a procedure for reassignment and when it may occur. I think our earlier policy might have noted before school started, and I think that we've added language to say basically when the need occurs.
Right, it makes it more specific, and there is more language, Mr. Chairman, to the board, Dr. James, that would give the applicant more specificity on feeling as though there was disparate treatment that they might have received in the application process in order to file a complaint for it.
How do you explain to a teacher who's being involuntarily transferred, maybe because of discipline issues or whatever?
Because they're being involuntarily transferred because of disciplinary issues?
Or because they've had an issue at one school and they don't want to be transferred, but they are transferred?
I think it notes in there that's against policy. You can't transfer somebody.
Yeah, the transfer should not be used for a response, in response to disciplinary measures. I'll definitely talk to you. Okay, that sounds good.
The other thing that in this proposed revision is that we changed the process for a transfer, in which case you have to now, there has to be a position in which you apply for and not just put in for a transfer. It's not just an open-ended transfer, you have to apply for a specific position. And in that proposed revision, it outlines how that would happen. And that's a lot to digest. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Dawn.
Do we have to spell all of these or just say it out?
Ma'am,
Do we have to spell out every one of these, or can we just use a generic?
if the board would, we'd appreciate you approving them all. And just
Mr. Chairman, we'll try this one. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the administration's recommendation for first and second reading on revisions to the following board policies as presented, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Okay, we have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. King. Any further discussion? All right, being none, for the record, I'll clarify that we have a motion and a second for first and second reading to revisions of board policies GCG, GBED, JIGCG, GCF, and GCK in their corresponding administrative rules. Being no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is consideration of local board approved courses.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. James, you'll remember a few months ago I came and asked for you to approve some courses for this school year. Tonight I'm asking you to approve some courses for next school year. As we work to clean up course numbers and course names this year, it's become apparent that we needed to address some of the current courses that we have in both of our high schools. We're hoping that you will allow us to take PE2, for example, and break it into specific course topics so students can sign up for the class that they prefer. We believe that this will help us with student participation in PE classes and keep our counselors from having to change student schedules once school starts. And then we also like to add 2 more levels of student leadership. Students can currently earn 4 credits or participate in 4 levels, but we do have students that participate in student government, student leadership, student body president, student class officers, those students who participate more than 4 credits and quite honestly don't earn credit for those classes. So this would increase the number to 6 credits that a student can earn during their high school years. Again, these courses would be elective credit only, and it's at the CP level as far as GPA and grading. Any questions? I'll be glad to answer. But we're looking for approval on student leadership 5, student leadership 6, PE 2, all those listed.
I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the administration's recommendation of the local board approved courses to include student leadership 5, student leadership 6, and the PE classes as listed and presented.
Motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. King. Any discussion?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Start with Ms. Kessler.
Back in the dark ages when I taught school, we had these classes listed individually just like this. It was changed after I retired to PE2. I'm not sure how I'm going to vote tonight. It depends on how you answer this, because these courses are terribly abused. You've got coaches pulled to teach these classes. You had baseball and softball together, and when it was taught, I won't say by whom, the girls were set on the side to keep the stats of the game that was playing during the season, and the boys had an extension of practice. So rather than practice beginning at 3:30 or 3:45, it started at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, I heard the term maximum efficiency being used at our last meeting. When we are looking at mental health counselors, the lack of mental health counselors, and we need educators, we need foreign language in our elementary schools, we're putting in these classes and we're bringing athletics into the school day. I don't know how we intend to monitor this, but it will definitely need to be monitored. And what's going to happen to your departments is you're going to have the coaches pulled to teach certain classes, which is the cream of the crop, and then you're going to have certain teachers that are going to be stuck with everybody else. It's going to be a difference from night and day of the work that goes in for those 2 jobs to get paid the same monies.
Ms. Kessler, you're right. When it wasn't the dark ages. I can't when I tell you you're wrong, you tell
I
me.
said, thank you.
No,
But that's
when,
the truth, it's going to be abused, I'm telling you, right now, it's going to be abused.
Well, I hope not. You are right. When you talk, when I was at Airport, when Kay talked, the courses were broken out because you had kids that maybe had interest in racket sports, tennis, badminton, those kinds of things, and then you had other kids that were interested in other things. I didn't sit on that committee, but I think the whole intent was to allow kids to get into things that we're interested in and not necessarily kids who are athletes in those programs. I can promise you, if we have a group that has a baseball team playing a game and the softball girls sitting on the sidelines keeping it, we've got a problem, and that's a Dr. Cooper Driscoll problem. The other side of that is, you are well aware, having been a PE teacher, department head, and board member for 20 years. PE, art, and music are three of the courses that the state has at 40-to-1 as far as the teacher-pupil ratio. Right now, I've got the schedules for both high schools. Neither high school is anywhere near that. As a matter of fact, we have more kids that are in personal health than we do PE. My support of that would be from the standpoint that you have kids that are not necessarily good enough to make the basketball team or good enough to make the baseball team, but learn to play a game. It is certainly not intended to be practiced during the middle of the day. And we aren't going to pull, you talk about maximum efficiency, and that's my term and that's my goal. But if we've got coaches that are supposed to be teaching social studies, they're not going to be coaching during the middle of the day. They're going to be teaching social studies. We've assigned numbers of staff members and FTEs, and Dixon will bring that to you. I've given it to the board in your budget package based on the number of kids and the number of course requests. So the fact that it's being broken out is not for the athletes, it's for the kids who want to play a sport and want to learn how to play a sport. And it is certainly not anything that we expect to cause an increase in the teacher-pupil ratio in academic courses when we've got a course that the State Department says the class average is 40-to-1 and we're making it 18-to-1. No, man, that's not the intent. Can we monitor? I hope. Now, you've had more experience with it than I have, so.
You're going to have, you need to monitor who approves for the child to go into the class, because at one time coaches did, and if you weren't on the team, you didn't make the basketball team, or you didn't make the football team, or you didn't make the volleyball team. And that happens because there are a lot of kids, the volleyball class, you're going to find boys that want to sign up for that class. They love it. So I'm just saying, it's got to be monitored. And I don't want to see, and I'm a physical educator, and I was an educator. But I don't want to see those departments grow to create more jobs for coaches when we need other things.
No, ma'am, we've got 2 pages of coaches at both high schools. And we've got coaches in positions. That is merely, the way it got my support is that it's merely an opportunity for those kids. I mean, when you start talking about a basketball team, you've got 5 kids that are going to play the majority of the time. Most basketball coaches are going to keep 12 kids. I kept 13, so I'd have one to talk to on the. But there are a lot of kids who would like to know how to play and play decently and get some coaching, and hopefully PE will be what PE was when you were teaching, and instead of rolling the ball out, it'll be teaching fundamentals to kids who don't necessarily have those God-given skills to get out there and participate at a varsity level.
I'm going to keep my ears open next year.
Please do, and if it goes the way you're describing, I'll be the first person to say that I apologize, and we'll be bringing it back to the board to
It says
change.
red light on recording, yes.
It is.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr.
So to kind of piggyback on this, I like this, and I like the student leadership as you presented it, Dr. Brooks. But my question to you and to Dr. James and to Dr. Cooper, because I do agree very much with Ms. Kessler. The kids that aren't on the teams, they would probably really like to have this elected. You're going to have enough physical education teachers at the schools to provide for this?
We've pulled the numbers up, Ms. Wooten, as a matter of fact, and right now, we're well within the numbers.
Because I agree with Ms. Kessler, we don't want a teacher pulled to go to a class, but and I want this provided for all of our children, but I want to make sure you've got enough teachers at both schools.
Oh, we do. As a matter of fact, we discontinued using one at airport, and Ms. Summers was teaching 2 classes of teacher cadet and 2 classes of personal health. So she didn't actually teach PE, but we are going to use that as our adaptive PE class. So if we do that, based on the schedules from both of the high schools, we will be under 30 to 1, based on the number of kids at both schools. And like I said, the state says that you can have 40 in music, band, art, and PE, not to exceed 240 children in a day. So,
now, who will be teaching the student leadership classes?
It's up to the high school principals.
But give me what would you think?
Well, we currently have that. Okay. And so I don't know off the top of my head who does it at DC Airport. It's the AOA. It's a social service teacher.
A social service.
What will be the size of those classes?
All of our classes, as we have, as Dr. James has shared with y'all, we've also shared with principals, and they have to have at least 10 as a minimum.
and that's one thing, Ms. Kessler, when we looked at the numbers of students, and when I sat down and talked with board officers and planning the agenda, you can't have, that leadership class would be out of the social studies department. You can't have folks teaching 10 children and somebody else teaching 35.
Thank you.
Mr. Bingham shared with me a little YouTube video. It's worth everybody going back. It's got 2 chimps, and they're feeding them cucumbers till they feed one of them grapes. And once they get to grapes, they throw the cucumbers back at them. So, you know, we want everybody getting grapes or everybody getting cucumbers. We can't have 10 folks, and you certainly can't have that kind of situation where you'd have a PE class that have 10 basketball players in there and just practicing.
Dr. James, I will say, for physical education, I was also there when some physical education classes were like 20. That's too few actually for physical education class.
Well,
So
we've
set it
got,
up in
I'll be very honest with you, Ms. Wilkin asked about the numbers that we've got. We've got physical education 1 that's got 20 kids in it, 17 kids in it.
It's too small. To set up your team, they compete against each other.
Yeah.
So they really could be larger.
So, you know, we've set up some numbers. We're watching the numbers daily. We've given them to you, or Dixon will give them to you in just a few minutes based on the course request. And I told you 135th day because 135th day is the day we get our money. But what we do know from history is the fact that we'll have more kids at the beginning of school than we do at the 135th day. So we base the course request teacher-pupil ratio too as our starting point. We want our teacher-pupil ratio to be exactly what we talked about, 20 to 1 at elementary, 23 to 1 at middle school, and then overall at high schools, all certified non-administrative folks for that to be 17 to 1 and 22 to 1 for everybody else, and that gives them opportunity for people who are like guidance counselors, athletic directors, those folks that work with kids but not necessarily have a classroom. So what we've given you is well within the numbers, but you frighten me a little bit whenever you talk about pulling people out of academic class to start practice early. That's not the intent. The intent is to help kids that don't necessarily know how to play a game, but want to play a game. I mean, I got our tennis coach said back there, there are a lot of kids that want to be able to play tennis that probably can't make a tennis team, and that's a lifetime sport. It's something that is, my child did very well in hitting your sister, so anyway, I'll be glad to answer any other questions that you might have about that.
Anyone else? Okay, we have a motion, a second for approval of the local board approved courses. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, next on our agenda is consideration of a summer moving contract.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, Dr. James, we have for your consideration, we'd like to ask that you consider all of items I through S at one time. And we'll give you some numbers if we go through these, but for the summer moving contract, this was in our CPIF budget for last year, and we'll just be continuing with that budget. We have, we got the Fulmer back and the New Bridge over to Davis. And I think that's all that we moved this summer. Mr. First, is that correct?
That's correct.
And then on the furniture contract for Fulmer, we just want to bring that to you. It's in the amount of $684,149.59. We'd like to remove or strike item K from the agenda, as we were not able to obtain a contract price in a timely manner. Item L, we would like to request that we go ahead and approve the Defender Services contract. As you know, we did a one-year contract with potential for a 5-year renewal, 1 year at a time. I think this is their 4th year on that 5-year contract.
Excuse me, Don, can we take that one out and do it individually?
Sure.
Thank you.
And then the next one would be item M, which is consideration of flooring at Congaree Wood Childhood Center. That would be to Bonnets in the amount of $337,241. Item N, again, we were not able to get a firm contract due to the timeliness, but we were going to do this last year, which is the replacement of the flooring in the hallway at Congaree Elementary. And because it had asbestos underneath, we could not get it done over the summer. So we'd like to go ahead, we actually have a price to do the work, but we don't have a price to put the flooring in. We don't have a price to take the asbestos out. We estimate that being $35,000. If we wait until the June board meeting, we'll be in jeopardy of not getting it done again this year. So we'd like to go ahead and ask that you basically give us the ability to do that for an estimated price of $35,000. If it's considerably different from that, then we bring it back to you. The next item is the amount of money that it takes to put the flooring in those hallways at Congaree Elementary, and that again would go to Bonnets in the amount of $37,450. $37,450. Item P is the disposal of portables. As you know, coming near the end of our building program, and we have several portables that we've used at various places. We would like to get rid of those while we can still maybe get some money for them. And we've listed all of the places where we have those. We do have one that we'd like to move to the transportation office. So we'd like to get approval for that. And we will put them out for bid once you give us approval to do this. Also, we have consideration of installing the turf flooring at Brooke and Casey High School Fitness and Wellness area. And that would be to Thompson Turner Construction. And we actually combined item Q and R, being Q Cubing, and Brooklyn Casey are at airports. And we were able to get a reduction in price on those from the same company. And we checked prices with 4 companies, and this was the cheapest. In both places, it'll be $9.42 a square foot. So the total cost at Brooklyn Casey will be $66,800. And that will come from existing contingency on that project. At Airport High School, it will be $67,630. There's a difference of about 40 square feet in the two where they measured on, I don't know what.
Is that from contingencies also?
It will also come from contingency, we think from Fulmer, that we would just be able to carry that right on over. And if not, we would hope to have some contingency left from the airport job as well. And then the last thing, item S, is that we have a request to increase the size of the parking lot at the Community Education Center. We have adult education folks that are parking in the field, and when it rains, that's a muddy mess, and we don't want to destroy that field. So we would like to increase the parking there. That would be paid for through grant money. And then we just, we might be able to put it out to bids. All we're asking you to do is give us permission to do that. So we'd like to ask that you approve all of the items that we just mentioned, items I through S. I'm sorry, and removing item K and excluding item F.
What I would think we probably need to do is let's pull out L, we're going to do separate, and then we need to probably pull out the sale of the portables, item P, as a separate. Let's keep all the contracts together in one approval, and then we can do some of the other actions as a separate motion, but let's have one motion that will just take care of contractual issues. So we'll pull out P and then also S, because there's no money attached to any of those. So we'll be doing, that's the way I would suggest that we try to approve this. So the way I would see it is we would have a motion to approve the moving contract to Smith Trade Line in an estimate of $50,000. We would have a contract to Verco for furniture at Fulmer in the amount of $684,149.59. We would have the removal of the flooring at Congaree Wood Early Childhood Center in the amount of $337,241 to Bonnets. The asbestos abatement, an estimate of $35,000. Then the removal of replacement of the flooring in the hallways at Congaree, Bonnets in the amount of $37,450. Then the contract Thompson Turner for BC and Airport High School, BC being $66,800 and Airport being $67,630.
The airport will be contract construction.
Oh, it would be contract construction, so it's two. You said the same things, huh? So it'll be Thompson Turner for $66,800 and contract construction for $67,630.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that would take care of all the contractual issues. So I'll entertain a motion for that group.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we just approve everything that Mr. Bingham just said. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the list of contracts that I've enumerated with the rights. And we have a second. So any discussion further on those contracts? Being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, now let's move to the other We have I entertain a motion for consideration to authorize the administration to begin the process of disposal of portables.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the administration's recommendation to begin the plan to sell the identified portables.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Kester. So, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Now, we move to the consideration of the additional parking lot at the Community Education Center. So this would be a motion to begin the designing and advertising for the project. I have a motion.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the process for design and advertising the project at the Community Education Center.
Got a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Wood. Any discussion?
Mr. Bean, Mr. Eisenhower, if you go proceed to get a bid for this, would you not want to do that work this summer?
Yes, ma'am.
So wouldn't that change the motion, bid and?
Well, we gotta we're in the process right now of getting it designed.
Right.
So as soon as you give us the go-ahead, we're gonna put it out to bid. So we're hoping to bring it to you in June.
Okay.
Hopefully.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Being none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, now we'll move back to item L, consideration of contract with Defender Services. I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to award the contract to Defender Services in the amount of $2,082,309.
Okay, we have a motion, do I have a second? I'll second.
Second.
All right, discussion.
Mr. Chairman, it seems like every time I go into school, I get a comment from employees or someone concerning the lack of cleanliness within the school. And many of our employees are put in a position to clean their own space or to do chores that are not on their job description because it's not being done by the cleaning service. We were told that things were going to get better, and I think when we've got so many employees at different levels making complaints concerning what's not being serviced at their schools and their facilities, I think we've got a problem. We've discussed this problem for several years now.
I did talk to Dr. James about this, but Mr. Eisenhower, that fall under your jurisdiction as far as fielding complaints and then observing what's happening at the buildings?
It does, and actually, building person, Ron Arnold, would be the first line of that. And, I guess, we read the same email that you guys did, and I immediately reached out to those two folks, Ron Arnold and Bill Person. And, whether we use our employees or if we use contracted services, you're still, you're paying folks a low rate of pay. And I will tell you that Defender has had issues with employees, just like we would have had issues with employees. The benefit of having Defender Services managing those people is that they can walk in and fire somebody without doing 6 months of documentation that would be required if we were firing somebody. Maybe even more than that. They have, for various reasons, dismissed about 74 employees this year. And it's a revolving door. But I will say that Defender has hired a management that they brought into this district, and we've seen improvement. Dr. James and I were surprised because we haven't had any complaints from the principals this year. And then when I reached out to Ron and to Bill McPherson, we have had a few schools where we have had issues. We were unaware of those until this week. But actions have been taken at those schools, and the reports I'm getting is that we're seeing improvement. And, you know, I guess at this point, there have been 3 or 4 schools where the majority of those issues have occurred. And I will tell you that, you know, if we were not going to renew this contract, it's something we should have done in February, because you have to advertise, you have to go through a lengthy process. We talked to board officers around February, and they asked us basically if we were getting any complaints, and we said we were not. So we didn't feel at the time we needed to go through the process of advertising and hiring someone else. So I do think that there's been tremendous improvement. Now, we're not where we want to be, but we're better than we were.
The issue about complaints last year and the year before, I don't know that there was a day that I didn't get an email from a principal, and some days multiple emails from the same principal. The email that the board got the other day from a citizen is the first negative email that I've seen, or Donna has seen, because Donna and I start our morning about 7:15 talking to each other, and that's the first negative email now. I'm sure that there are plenty of things out there, but up until this time, we've had at this level to talk about rebidding the contract or taking it back on ourselves. We've had no real reason to think in those terms. And then I think, you know, the board, if the board would ever decide that they want to take that back and be a district employee kind of thing again, that's a big step. And we've used, in my time here, we've had 3 different cleaning services, so, you know, we were not aware of what the email was that you all got.
I hear that this is the 4th of a 5-year, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I mean, we don't have to go the full 5. It's a 1-year.
Correct. No, but this is the 4th year.
This is the 4th year. If we decide we don't want to renew, then, you know, January, February is the time for us to start that process. Because it's quite a process to go through the interviews and advertising and all that.
If a principal at a school or whoever's in charge of the facility cannot request a defender employee to take care of a situation in their school because they're not directly over them, that's wrong. You cannot take care of your facility. You can't get people to work on the problems that are reported to you. It may not be their line of duty, it may not be on their chart of a function that they're supposed to take care of it, but that principal needs it to be done. You stop what you're doing, go take care of it, and then go back to your work.
I'll agree with that up to a point. Don gave you a chart last year where we actually had custodial staff that was going to classrooms and walking kids to lunch and doing bus duty and all that. I'd say if it has to do with the safety and cleanliness of the building, I agree with it. If it has to do with supervision of students, custodian doesn't need to be doing that. No matter how good the custodian is, that's wrong on a couple of levels.
Well, I still think we've got a problem, and I don't see it getting much better. I go into the bathrooms at athletic facilities, and the bathroom hasn't been cleaned since I was there 2 weeks earlier. The same trash, and believe me, in a women's bathroom, you can identify trash has been there for quite a while. It's disgusting.
Well, I would say the same thing, Ms. Kester. I was at a airport baseball game.
Yes, sir.
Walked into the restroom and saw that there was trash in there. It was in there the time I was there previously. That's an issue that I think we will have to address, because I'm not sure Defender understands when those facilities are getting used. So, Mr. Person, that is definitely something that we need to address.
Even if it's a facility inside of the building, such as a restroom in the arena areas, they're not even getting complaints. They're used by students through the day. I don't know what the solution is, but I know we don't have it yet.
I was just wondering how many staff, janitors we have in our schools that are full-time in the schools.
You mean as far as our employees?
Our employees.
We only have them at 2 schools now?
Brooklyn Casey High School, one.
Just one school. And every year we get fewer and fewer.
So if there's a need during the day and Defender's not there at the time, then what?
They're there, Defender's there.
They're just there, they're there all day, doing something.
We have two groups of employees. We've got folks that are Lexington 2 employees, and those scattered throughout the district. Lexington, we all think we're Casey High School, so there wasn't a rift between I work with Lexington and I work with Lexington. And then all the other schools are staffed with the appropriate number of custodians for the entire day and the afternoon, but they aren't our employees. They're employees of the owner.
And they can't take direction from a principal.
They do. I would like to say, if you don't mind, that if a principal walks up and says a kid threw up in the second and third grade hall, please go, that they will do that. And if there is an issue with that with the principal, they really need to call me. So I say for the most part that they should and would.
But here's what I would propose is that, we hired Ron Arnold to be the go-between between Defender and our school administrators and that sort of thing. And we're prepared. And part of why we hired him is we're prepared to make a move if you ever decide that you want to go back to our own employees. Ron is the guy that will help us make that transition. And he understands it very well, and I think our administrators have respect for him. But what I would propose is that we sit down with the administrators and Ron and Bill, and let's talk about where our issues are. I'm not sure that it's probably long overdue. And Steve Covey would say, let's sharpen the saw. Let's look at what our issues are and let's work on it. And I think, Ron, you don't see a problem with that, do you, Bill?
No, I'd love to have a conversation.
Any further questions?
If we go in that direction, Mr. Chair, I would say that at some point, I guess Mr. Ivan will be the one that leads the different. If you put on notice that obviously there's questions regarding cleanliness of facilities that you were saying, they need to be pointed out what the deficiencies are. And then that would give time, if we did decide, direction, regardless of the direction we decided to go. We're talking about it now, and then we would make plans prior to. I think I'd like to see money at some point, the finances, if we went back to facilitating it ourselves.
That is the reason we go to contracted services. Because if you hire the employees in the district and they're offered all the benefits of the district, and it's a very expensive employee who's actually doing custodial work. So therefore, at the time, it was projected about $1.5 million. The impact to the budget was what we were looking to save by going to contracted services. So if you're going to go back to an employee arrangement, then you're going to anticipate that or more to add back to the budget to try to accomplish that. And it's got to do with just the price of the employee.
Would you will monitor, it'll be monitored more closely, what you're saying?
Well, and that's why we hired Ron. And Ron, what's happening, I've learned this week, is that the administrator is going directly to Ron. Ron's dealing with it through Defender. And Ron's good at just basically what we used to use as term skins on stumps. I mean, he's taking care of dirty work before it gets to me. And I guess I felt I should be getting a little more input from Ron and Bill in that regard.
Any further questions? All right, we have a motion and a second to approve contract with Defender for $2,082,309. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
Okay. We have all ayes and one nay. Motion carries. Next on our agenda is consideration request for overnight or out-of-state student travel for BC, Busby, and airport students.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the out-of-state or overnight travel as presented 1, 2, and 3, and recommended by the administration.
Have a motion, have a second.
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. King. Any discussion?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
On this one request for the JROTC cadet, the challenge in Fort Jackson, it's a 6-day event and the school is going to provide insurance?
We get it's the same thing for airport too, when they go to Fort Jackson for the camp. We have a special rider from the South Carolina.
But it's based on our insurance that we
Right,
already
it's on our
have.
insurance. We do it every year.
So if you're covering for this, why do, on other requests, do I see that they're being covered by families? Travel.
We only do this for those summer camps because they're out there at Fort Jackson doing all those obstacle courses and stuff like that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, next on our agenda, administrative divisional reports. So first up is the instruction.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, these are accurate as of this afternoon, and so I appreciate your patience with looking at these tonight versus asking for them last week in your packet. We'll start with elementary numbers. We're looking at elementary. And you can see that, just as a reminder, in elementary schools, we're trying to hit the 1 to 20 mark with our teacher to student pupil ratio. So you can see here broken out by the elementary schools what the projected number of students are at each grade level. I will point out that kindergarten is that unknown for us. We take a guess at that every single year. And so that's something we watch along with the others, but that's really an unknown for us. But you can see how we have projected and the numbers of teachers that we needed. Both, you can see at Casey, we're recommending 2 additional teachers there. Those are repurposed positions, not additional in that regard. Congaree would be holding the same. And at Casey, we'll point out that the school average is 1 to 22. Congaree, we're at 1 to 20.5. At Riverbank, we're recommending holding those numbers. We're at 1 to 21, excuse me. Saluda River Academy of the Arts, 1 to 18.1, no changes there. Springdale, recommending no changes at this point, 1 to 20 there. And Wood, keeping the same number of teachers, but recommending that they move a teacher from 3rd to 5th to help with those numbers, and that puts us at 1 to 22. Are there any questions about elementary? Looking at the middle schools, the target number that Dr. James has shared is 1 to 23. You can see at Busby, we are recommending no additional FTEs there. Puts us at 1 to 23. We, of course, are watching 6th grade. At Fulmer, you can see that we're recommending 2 repurposed FTEs. That would give us a ratio of 1 to 23. At Northside, we're recommending the same thing, 2 additional teachers there, which would give us 1 to 22. And at Pine Ridge, no changes there, and that would put us at 1 to 22 currently. So for our middle school, the average is 1 to 22.5. Any questions about middle school? Down at the bottom of the sheet is our high school numbers. We've done 2 different things here for you. We've included the number of course requests, and that is accurate as of this afternoon. And then we've also included the 135-day numbers so that you can see those numbers as Dr. James has shared. That is the money day. And so you can see with the current course requests, looking at airport, for example, in math, there are currently 1,357 requests for different math classes. There are 10 teachers, so there's we have 60 sections that are available. So that gives you a 1 to 23 ratio. And you can see, looking at the 135-day numbers, that gives you the 1 to 22. In English, the ratio is 1 to 22. Science is 1 to 25, 1 to 21. You can see FTE. The 135 is 1 to 25. And then social studies currently at 1 to 25. That does include AVID as well as student government. With 135-day, we're at 1 to 20. Looking at Brooklyn Casey High School, you can see the course requests for math. There's 1,171 of them as of this afternoon. 9 teachers, 54 possible sections. And so you can see the ratio is 1 to 22. In English, the ratio is 1 to 22. Science, 1 to 20, and social studies, 1 to 24. And then you can see what the 135-day numbers are. Look a little bit better. Are there any questions about high school? Yes, sir.
So just picking any particular one, if we say airport math, and the ratio says 1 to 23 under the 219 to 220 ratio.
Yes, sir.
That doesn't mean every math course is going to have 23. Some math courses could have 30, and some math courses could have 18. That's the total, because based on how the schedules work is maybe where one teacher may have to teach more than another because of how different students have different schedules.
That is correct.
How do we, go into the cucumbers and grapes analogy, how do we keep it so that everybody, okay, you got to do a 30 for this one, but you don't get all 30s for your blocks. You get a 30 for this one and a less for that one. How do we monitor that? So that one teacher's not stuck with all of their classes.
And that is something that, we need to talk to principals about. I mean, really, that's their prerogative. I can tell you that what we are doing this year is have shared with both high school principals a spreadsheet, an FTE spreadsheet, where they put in course requests. The course is there so that we can monitor what those class sizes look like. That is where these numbers came from this afternoon. So we can see how those classes are shaking out.
Well, and I guess my point would be, in the past history, the board has allowed it to be their prerogative. But what we don't want to have happen is them to create basically or the fairness between teachers and that sort of thing, to where parents then start to get involved, to where then it comes back to the board saying, my kid is in this class and every one of her classes is 30-1, and it's not fair, these other kids are all in the, they only got 18 in their classes, or 15 or 12, or whatever it is. Then it goes from not being their prerogative anymore because they're imbalanced in the school and they're creating pressure on the board and so do. That would be what I think the board would want to avoid.
And that's one of the things, we've looked at the schedules, Mr. Beam, we have them now, and we can get them out to you all, because you and I talked about this. It's like Ms. Kessler was talking, and you said before, when I was here 25 years ago, you got a certain number of FTEs, and if you were doing poorly in science, you may have an extra science teacher and a lesser English teacher, but as I understand what transpired is, when you got heavy in one area, the complaint came back to the board that we don't have enough English teachers, or we don't have enough whatever, and you are right. If one teacher has a lesser number, and that's going to happen, particularly in high-level sciences and high-level math, typically you're not going to have AP calculus and have 35 kids in it. I mean, that just normally doesn't happen. So, you know, you'll have an algebra class that may have, one has 28 in it, and AP calculus class maybe has 15 or 17, but I think you got a valid point. I can't always teach the 28 and you always get 15. Sometimes I got to get 15 and you get 28. If it's going to be fairness at the district level, and from here, Dixon and the principals have done a good job, and they've both got instructional curriculum folks there working as assistant principals, watching the schedule live, and so far it's balancing out fairly well. But those are our courses, and you know, I looked at the 25-1 in social studies. That's a concern, because that's another one of those things you talk about. That's some gets more, some gets less, because you've got AVID and you've got student government. There aren't going to be as many of those as there are in some of the social studies. So it's got to balance out in that way, and we can't sacrifice our core areas to the point where you've got folks coming in saying we don't have enough science teachers at high school. You know, we got to have more FTEs. One, the board, that ought to be a function of the board. You shouldn't have to hear about it. We ought to be able to manage it better than that. And secondly, you got to balance the budget, so there aren't FTEs in there to add more science FTEs. And that's not a very good answer, other than we're watching the schedule. And like I said, I got both schedules pulled out of Power School for every kid that we've got enrolled from the first day to the 135th day. So monitoring this is the best thing that we can do.
Of the math teachers, say at airports, you got 10, and BC, you got 9. Does that take into account the ones we're sharing with the Innovation Center? We have teachers transferring over back and forth?
We've looked at that, Kevin, and we've got some kids that are high-level math classes that we probably combine those together. The number at BC, we filled in as a math teacher that's taking over the Project Lead the Way program. We're following in behind that teacher with a new teacher. If you had gone to 8 teachers in math with the number of course requests, you'd overloaded the math classes, particularly the lower level math classes. Both the principals sat and talked with Dixon and some of the instructional folks the other day. I think they got a good handle on the fact that if you've got, and we do have some higher level courses, that the 2 schools have, well, I think one of them had like 7 in it, and the other had 12 or something like that. And having them at the Innovation Center lets both schools have it, and us not have a class that's got 7 or 12. We don't hold a kid hostage for not getting the course, but we don't end up with a teacher that's got 7 and another teacher's got 35. So. best we can do right now. We're going for our goals that we talked to you about, but just quite honestly, it's better than it was, and right now, that's what we can afford. I mean, we want to hit 1 to 20, 1 to 23, 17 to 1, 22 to 1, but right now, it's tracking pretty good.
If you got more kindergartners at Casey, could you send them to another school?
Kindergarten is like Lexington said, it's a moving target, so we could send them, if we had to move kids around, we could move kids around, but till they show up, that's kind of and then it skews the numbers. I mean, there's no doubt if you pull that out of the elementary numbers get closer to what we really want to be if you pull the kindergarten out, so. We'll be glad to take any and all advice and help.
Thank you. All right, next on our agenda is the monthly financial reports.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. James, we've got the end of April reports here for revenue. We did get some updated numbers that we have not gotten all the information in by the end of April, so I was going to share with you. We had an additional $3.5 million come in for a total revenue receipts of $6,419,484 for the month of April. We don't get our tax information until about the 12th and 13th of the month, and we just didn't get that information in time to get these reports done for you.
So that means our percentage of revenues is over what it was at the same time last year.
Correct, it's 88.32% now, as of the end of April. For expenditures, through the end of April, we had spent $58,732,755 for 72.38%, which is less than this time last year. You have your pupil activity fund reports, total in pupil activity district-wide $835,170. And then the final report would be the capital project commitments. The $700,000 for airport was approved at the March meeting, so that's reflected in this report. Any questions? Thank you.
Okay. Being without objection, then the monthly financial reports are standing approved as presented. Budget update.
We're good.
Okay.
We don't have any more updates.
Construction update.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, Dr. James, again, we provide for your consideration just the progress on all of our construction projects out there. And Mr. Cooper was on vacation, so he's put me on the spot to answer any questions that you might have. And again, we'll make this public shortly after you guys sit.
I do have a question about the Springdale grass. It really looks bad. It seems like part of it looks like it's mostly grass and it's doing well. The other looks like it's 90% weed. Are those companies, landscaping companies, aren't they held responsible for some of that?
They are, and in Springdale, what you may be seeing is that we had a mix of siding, and we had some that was just basically sprayed in there, and the side has done fairly well. The parts where that we hydro seeded have not done as well. we have to reach a certain percentage of grass growth out there at all of our projects in order to get our notice of termination on any project. And we have not gotten it for that particular project. So we're supposedly still watering, and the companies are still taking care of it. And if it doesn't take to the point where we can get our notice of termination, then they'll have to come back in and take care of that issue.
That's what I wanted to hear. Is that what we did? At Northside, on the back side, took out this landscaping, put in some of those rocks, and built a small pond down there. Out the exit there that comes out on,
You're talking about out on Cougar Drive?
yes. Last week, there was quite a bit of water in that yard and on our property as well. It stood there for probably 3 or 4 days. I noticed that you sodded this week. Is that sod going to take care of that, or do you know?
You're talking about it on the back side?
On the back side, exiting out to Hummingbird.
Yeah, we had an erosion issue there, and a lot of it was the irrigation pipes were put where it should have been, and the water just ran those pipes because it wasn't compacted, and as a result, it just washed out. It made a ditch where it should have been. So we basically have gone back in, and we're trying to rectify that problem. Unfortunately, we took time to put the fence up 6 inches off the ground so we need under it and have good maintenance of that, but they've now filled that up to the bottom of the fence, which is not ideal for us, but it's typically what you get, but it's not what I typically give. But overall, we've put riprap in, we've put filter fabric in. We think that we will resolve the issue once it's completed.
Okay, so it's not completed now? Because last week it was a good, I'd say it's a good 4 days before you couldn't see water. So
Now, you're talking about in the pond itself?
Roaster, it was outside the pond, it was closer to the road and in that man's yard, what's his name, and on our property too. And it was puddled probably.
You're talking about the road that goes down the road?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We'll take a look at it.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
All right, we'll move to executive session.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that the Board of Trustees enter a closed session for the following: consideration of personnel appointments and resignations, consideration of 2 requests of out-of-district tuition waiver, consideration of property matters, and consideration of contractual matters.
We have a motion for executive session out of second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Simmons. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We are now in executive session. We will take a